Speedway Report is produced and broadcast by the Zeus Radio Network for Racers Reunion Radio. Well, 4 NASCAR series visited the Magic Mile in New Hampshire. We've got the results. Mercedes team orders sour and exciting German Grand Prix. And John Force still knows how to get it done. All this and more. Welcome to Speedway Report for Monday, July 23rd, 2018, from the shores of Lake Norman in Race City, USA, Mooresville, North Carolina. I'm Patrick Reynolds. Thank you for joining the fastest half hour in racing as we celebrate tonight the birthday of the late, great Richie Evans. I was a member of his fan club, goodness, back in the 80s, was brokenhearted when he passed away in 1985. The greatest pavement modified driver ever, no question, no debate, on the track and off the track. The guy knew how to have a good time and get the most out of life. Rest in peace, Richie Evans. You're still missed, still loved, and still respected, and well earned that right into the NASCAR Hall of Fame. With that in mind, let's skip on over. Richie won a lot of races. Let's talk about who won over the weekend with your Speedway Report Victory Lane Lap. Let's start off with the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series up at the Magic Mile in Loudon, New Hampshire. Rain delayed yesterday. Had a scheduled 2 o'clock green flag. NASCAR moved the green flag up to 1 because of the forecast. It rained, pushed it till after 4 o'clock yesterday afternoon when they finally threw the green flag. It was after 7 o'clock when the checkered flew. Why the green flag isn't scheduled for noon or 1 o'clock anyway makes sense to me, but what do I know? Kevin Harvick wound up in victory lane after his battle with Kyle Busch yesterday after 301 laps around Loudon, New Hampshire. Xfinity cars were in Loudon on Saturday afternoon for 200 miles, and Christopher Bell, driving for JGR, took the checkered flag. The NASCAR trucks were in action last Wednesday at the Eldora Speedway for their annual dirt race, one of their biggest events on the calendar. Great finish here where Chase Briscoe edged Grant Enfinger by just that much. And in a similar type of finish, as usual, NASCAR's Wayland Modified Tour were at Loudon, New Hampshire. They preluded the Xfinity race Saturday afternoon. Bobby Santos barely edged Chase Dowling in the run for the checkered flag by a whisker, that much, which is kind of typical of the mods on the mile. NASCAR's Pro and K&N Pro Series East, that's a mouthful for me, was also at Loudon. Tyler Ankrum won the race for them. 70 laps, green to checkered, no cautions. Tyler led the entire distance. So we had Cup, Xfinity, Mods, and the East Series up in Loudon, New Hampshire. That's a pretty good racing weekend where the fans get their money's worth. The German Grand Prix got us up with the fuzzy slippers, pajama pants, and coffee on Sunday morning before you run to church. In Formula One, Lewis Hamilton came away with the win for Mercedes. We're going to talk a lot about this race here. A lot of storylines with the German GP. NHRA towed west. They were in Denver, Colorado at the Mile High Nationals. And top fuel was taken by Leah Pritchett in Funny Car. Yeah, I teased this at the top of the hour. John Force won in Funny Car in Denver. Career victory number 249. Yeah, we talked about Bloomquist with a 600th a few weeks ago. John Force, pretty impressive with the Funny Car at 249. In Pro Stock, Greg Anderson was your winner, and in Pro Stock Motorcycle, Hector Arana Jr. Beat the ladder system and wound up in victory lane. On the dirt, Lucas Oil Late Models ran the Silver Dollar Nationals in Nebraska on Saturday night. That was won by Jonathan Davenport. How much did he love that? To the tune of $53,000. Pretty good for a short track late model race. World of Outlaw Sprints raced last Tuesday in Sarver, Pennsylvania. Kyle Larson took a break from his Cup duties, was able to win the sprint car race. Good for him. On Thursday, the tour raced in Abbottstown, Pennsylvania, won by Freddie Raymer. The family name lives on. Friday night at Williams Grove, Lance Deweese took the checkered in the A-Main. Deweese's 91st career win at the Grove. I remember Deweese running sprint cars, gosh, forever, it seems like, in Pennsylvania. They were supposed to run a doubleheader at the Grove on Saturday night. That was rained out, will not be made up. But the National Open, ready to go for these guys in late September. ARCA Tour raced in, wanted to race in Berlin, Michigan on Saturday night. That was rained out, rescheduled for August 25th, not October. They'll be racing August 25th in Berlin. And the USAC Sprints kicked off Indiana Sprint Week on Friday in Plymouth. Brady Bacon was your winner. And then last night in Lawrenceburg, Tyler Courtney took the checkered flag in the A main. They will run the rest of this week. We'll have the results, and your champion of Indiana Sprint Week next Monday on Speedway Report. Grandview, Pennsylvania was rained out. They called that about noon. And on Richie Evans' birthday, we'll wrap this up with some report of NASCAR Modified action. Bowman Gray Stadium in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Tim Brown and Randy Butner split the twin 25s on Saturday night at the quarter-mile oval. Let's keep the pattern going. Let's keep the momentum, the discussion going for my modified friends up at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. I've been singing this song for a lot of years. I've said it on the show, not every time they race up there. I've written about it, I've complained about it, I've talked about it, and it just seems like those modifieds have earned so much respect for their racing on the mile, so many compliments, so much prestige, the spotlight, the talk, and yet they get disrespected so bad when it comes to racing up there. I looked at the Saturday media, and just this year, in this part of the season, this current television contract, NBC Sports Network carries the modifieds on a tape-delayed basis. Yet we have Cup cars practicing live, and they get coverage on NBCSN. Then we go off the air for rugby on NBCSN during the modified race, and then we come back for the Xfinity pre-race and the race. And it seems like year after year, Speed jumped in this, years ago and did live coverage. TNN used to do live coverage, but gosh, when it came to ESPN and sometimes Fox, it depended on who was up there. But for goodness sake, why are the modifieds not on live? Why are we watching Cup practice? Why is practice live and the modified race is tape delayed and will be shown a week or two later? I just didn't get that. Never have, never will. And the people in the TV industry throw out to me the cost of doing a live race. I understand the cost of doing a live race, but you've got live practice. For God's sakes, we've got practice for Cup cars on live. Yet the race for the modifieds is taped. It's not on live and tape delayed. So you give me the argument that Cup draws a bigger television audience. Well, yeah, of course it's going to draw a bigger television audience because you've televised their practice sessions for live for decades, and you've made stars out of these guys, but you won't televise live the darn race for the modifieds. You've cultivated a series of stars in the Cup Series, and you shoved the modified guys under a rock. Is the tail wagging the dog or the dog wagging the tail? You can't get big television ratings for the modified race because you don't do it live, and you tape it and you show it a week or two later when it's clearly the best race of the New Hampshire weekend. Has been since we started. Case closed. Since that track, well, it was Breyer Motorsports Park back in the day. We had a short track and a road course. We rebuilt that. We tore it down. We rebuilt that. We opened it up in 1990. We ran Busch cars there for 3 years. In 93, the Cup Series came there. The Modifieds were part of that race, part of that racetrack since 1990. They've been part of the Cup weekends there for a long time. Since 1990, the Modifieds have been the best race of New Hampshire. Modifieds, my favorite division of all time. Certainly my favorite division within NASCAR, but I understand my bias. I'm cool with that. That you're biased against them. You're darn right I am. Okay, I got it. I grew up on Modifieds. I love them. I understand not everybody feels that way. But we go back to NASCAR's constant flag waving of the on-track product is the most important thing, which I cry hokum to, because you took the Busch Series or the Xfinity Series away from Lucas Oil Raceway and run at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. So I call bunk on that. No, the on-track product is not your most important factor in all this. And clearly it isn't if you don't have the modifieds on live. Now, I understand if the scenario is different and the modifieds have their own weekend. We're coming, that's part of the discussion coming for the September race there, but let's put that off to the side for a minute. And I'm not asking NBC Sports Network to make a special trip or special travel somewhere to cover a specific modified race live. I'm not asking that. You are already there, NBCSN. You've already sandwiched coverage around the modified race with, as I just talked about, you've got live Cup practice right before it. You've got live Xfinity qualifying before that. And the modified race comes along, you go away, and then you come back and you've got Xfinity pre-race and the Xfinity race. It seems to me that if NASCAR really and truly cared about the modifieds, they would put this race on live. It is clearly the best race of the weekend. There's no question. I don't care if you're a fan of the division or not. If you compared all four races, this was hands down the best race of the weekend. Just no question to it. And you're already there. So you're talking about, I'm not talking about the expense to go travel, a crew, set up, and carry a modified race. I'm not asking you to go to Stafford for a special trip or Riverhead or Oswego. I'm not asking you to do that. You're already there, and NBCSN has live programming up through that. I've complained to Fox, to ESPN about this, and you break away for the modifieds. You cultivated the Cup Series into stars. That's where your big TV ratings are, and you shove the mods under a rock. Give me 20 years of live coverage with the modifieds. Maybe we would make stars out of them too, and they'd be as big a name as the Cup guys, possibly even bigger. I'm telling you, the tail is wagging the dog on this. Now, I alluded to the September race, the Musket 250, their big modified race coming up at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. To the NASCAR fans that complain, NASCAR took away a race from took away a weekend from the New Hampshire Motor Speedway. No, they did not. You still have two very healthy NASCAR weekends at the New Hampshire Motor Speedway. They did take away a division for you, the Cup Series, only races there in July now. And they shifted their cars around to now the modifieds have the lead factor in the September weekend with their 250-lap race, which I think is wonderful. I've been dying for the modifieds to have a big race, which so many have faded away over the years. The 80-lap Spring Sizzler, the Pentax 200, the Thompson 300, the Bud 200 at Oswego, the Twin 250s at Martinsville. I could go on and on and on about these big distance races that modified schedule used to be peppered with. As a race fan, I used to love. And there was even a discussion on Facebook as late as this afternoon. Shane Bailey, thanks for the talking point. I wanted to bring it up on this show tonight. A lot of this is hearsay through a Facebook discussion. So that's my source of information. Take that for what is worth. We all follow politics, and we know how Facebook does a wonderful job, wonderful meaning crappy job of covering that. So with Facebook as my source, there have been talk of teams complaining about the cost of running the 250 in September. Possibly true. I'm not a modified tour car owner. I don't know what the purse will be for the September race top to bottom. I know I've heard it paid $25,000 to win. I have not seen a complete purse top to bottom, so I don't know what we're paying out for each position. Maybe it's out there. I just haven't seen it. I'm not a modified tour car owner or team owner, so you're right. I don't know what it costs to actually win the race. But I'm talking about from a fan's point of view, we used to have these extra distance races all the time. Different tracks would hold big events, and there were so many tracks that featured modifieds and so many big events along with the weekly series. There was a lot of marquee events that were traditional, long distance, big races. I'm looking forward to the Musket 250 in September from a fan's point of view. What concerns me is I've heard there will be a stoppage in the race. I hate breaks of any kind, of any style, in any race. I don't like a fuel stop in the Knoxville Nationals. I could not care less about the NASCAR All-Star Race or Bud Shootouts in Daytona. and I sure as hell don't like stage racing on a week-to-week basis in NASCAR's 3 National Touring Series. So a stoppage in the 250 in September, I'm not a fan of, but I'm a big fan of the modified. So, if I could make a change, and this is just hearsay on me, I would love to see 250 just go green to checker. Let's race it and let the cautions fall where they may. On the mile at the New York State Fairgrounds, the dirt modifieds raced there for so many years, and they ran their first the 100, the 125, 188, and finally the 200 lap distance. And that race did not have stoppages. It was just clearly just run through, run your pit stop strategy. It's a big, big, big event. Yes, big, big, big cost yourself. I understand that. As a race fan point of view, who you want me to buy a ticket for an event, give me the 250s. I love the 50s. I love the 25s. But give me the 200s, the 250s, the 300s, and leave the pit strategy open. Don't have stops. Don't have competition cautions. Don't have a mercy rule. Let the cautions fly. If we have green flag pit stops, so be it. If we have lots of cautions, so be that. I'm good either way. But I'm looking forward to the Mod 250, and I'm trying to put some positive energy into that race. Maybe even consider taking a flight up for this sucker. It's a big 250 on the mile. I'm game. I love modified racing on the mile. I can't commit to it yet, but we'll see what happens. It's only July 23rd. On the mile itself, Kevin Harvick on the Cup race bumped his way past Kyle Busch. Bump and run. Not racing. Not impressed. When did this become acceptable? So many people jump on board with that's racing, and they quote awful Days of Thunder as Rubbin's racing. That's not the Bible for motorsports. I knew the talented drivers as I was a kid. Let's talk about Richie Evans. They knew how to pass guys without touching them, and that was skill. I'm still impressed with that aspect. Putting the bumper to them and moving them out of the way, and Rubbin's racing, and it's crap. That's not racing. Unimpressed by the pass for the lead yesterday. What I was impressed with some passing was one Englishman, Lewis Hamilton. Started the German Grand Prix in 14th because, as we've heard for so long, you can't pass in Formula One. Ha, ha, ha. He had a hydraulic failure in Q2 on Saturday. Bottas, his teammate Valtteri Bottas at Mercedes had a hydraulic failure a few weeks ago, and his car dropped out of a race for the same type of scenario. He fixed it. Hamilton made his way to the front from 14th, used some strategy with the tires, with the rain that came in Germany. They played it to perfection. And then what we heard over the radio was Bottas was told to hold position behind Hamilton for them to take a 1-2. There were also team owners from Ferrari for Raikkonen to move over and let his faster teammate Sebastian Vettel pass earlier in the race. That soured a real good Grand Prix, a real good race. Vettel even had a mental error later on and crashed his car in Germany while leading for Ferrari. Heartbroken for him, but team orders just, it killed me. I know their strategy is different in Formula One, where they have 2 entries in the race and they maximize team points. That's the entire strategy. That's how they race because of the constructors' standings pays the big bucks in Formula One. So what we've got now, we had an 8-point deficit that Hamilton had to Vettel in the championship. Now Hamilton is up by 17 over Vettel. And Mercedes is also 8 points ahead of Ferrari in the Constructors' Championship, which pays the big coin over there. But just the team orders, gosh, guys, I understand how the sport works, but from a fan's point of view, it sucks. Much like a stoppage in a race, from this fan's point of view, it sucks when you have a built-in red flag or built-in stoppage. And, from this fan's point of view, I was a fan of the 200s, the 250s, and the 300s for modifieds. I'm a journalist. I write, I watch, I broadcast. I'm still a fan at heart, and I speak from that point of view a lot of what's going to make me go buy a ticket to a race or turn it on television. And some of the stuff we do in professional auto racing nowadays is a big turnoff for me turning on a TV or spending money to buy a ticket to the race. Not everything's bad. There's a lot good, but if nobody tells you sanctioning bodies what's bad, they're going to keep doing what they're doing and thinking it is good. Good news to report. I was thrilled with this news last week. Laguna Seca will be back on the IndyCar schedule. I thought that track was spot on in the 1980s and earlier 1990s for the kart series and then the Champ Car series. Saw so many of the greats in the glory days of IndyCar in the early 1980s, and then that famous pass, Alex Zanardi going around Brian Herta in 1996 in the corkscrew. So good to see Laguna Seca back on the IndyCar circuit. Love that. Looking forward to it. Much like New Hampshire for Modifieds in September, I might have to look at a flight to the West Coast in 2019 for that IndyCar finale. Everyone, in between our broadcasts, keep up on the world of auto racing with SpeedwayReport.com. This broadcast and all of our past shows are uploaded on the site. We've got some racing articles to read, so check out SpeedwayReport.com. You can find our shows on Facebook at the Speedway Report with Patrick Reynolds page and on the Racers Reunion page. If you go to Twitter, our past shows are on at Speedway Report or at Speedway Pat. That's my Twitter account. We're in the RacersReunion.com forum and SpeedwayReport.com. You can also check it out at Google Plus and LinkedIn, as well as our brand new YouTube channel that we started a few months ago. Big thanks to everyone on the Facebook Live feed for joining the conversation during the show tonight. Go see a race at a track near you. We're coming up on late July. The summer is getting away from us. Don't let your local track down. Get out there this coming weekend and go see a race at your local track. I want to thank all of the military, past and present, for the freedoms we enjoy as Americans in our daily life, including the simple things like bench racing right here on a Monday night. Freedom is not free, and a veteran paid that bill for us. To all of the men and women who are defending freedom and watching Speedway Report, please take care of yourselves and come home soon. A special salute to the teachers, school staff, firefighters, police officers, and paramedics in our own communities. They are quiet and modest heroes every single day. God bless and thank you. You have been watching Speedway Report from the shores of Lake Norman in Race City, USA, Mooresville, North Carolina. Please like our Facebook page, Speedway Report with Patrick Reynolds, and you can follow me on Twitter at Speedway Pat. Now, on the Drag Racing List Facebook page next is Racin' and Rockin' with Draglist.com. BP, JB, and BS are all there for your NHRA news and some pretty cool music. Let's head on over to Facebook, and it's Drag Racing List right on their page. We'll be back live here on Facebook next week, Monday, July 30th, where they look at Mid-Ohio IndyCars, NASCAR Cup in Pocono, NHRA in Sonoma, short tracks, and a whole lot more. Thank you all for joining us. Rest in peace, Richie Evans. Have a great birthday, and I'll see all of you next time.